Oh, boy. Huh?
He means business.
Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. I think that's what James says. James is unavailable. He may be able to dial in, but he had a personal issue that he had to take care of. The first thing we typically do is look at the minutes from the previous meeting, which I have here is April 3 of 2025. Anybody have any corrections or additions or any concerns on this?
No, I thought it was good. Yep.
All right, then I'll take a motion, if anybody wants to make a motion to accept the minutes as is.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. We should accept the minutes from the last meeting. This is,
Anybody want a second?
Yes, I'll second.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, we're all in favor. Job one done. Okay.
Keep rolling.
The second item is, the report to the town board is in your package. This is for Rafael Perez on 3 Lake Drive. And it is, I've lost. I had the, what application is this? Do you have the application number?
Number 4, 2025?
Yeah.
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
It's on the top.
It's right in the middle.
It's in your package. It's in my package. It's
Oh,
up
you know what? His is blank for some reason. Okay,
Yeah.
it's on the ones that we got.
Oh, okay.
It's in that pile right there, Greg?
Yes.
The bottom of that pile.
This was, I printed before I
It's on
put it in.
page 2.
That's the issue. The Perez is an application for an advanced septic system. He is requesting 12,000 and he will not have a PSD, so there's no incentive there. We may or may not want to set aside, it looks like he is changing the leaching pool. We're putting a new one in, and it's basically, the old one is it's going in right next to the old one, which it seems to be legitimate on the location of the well. But I just for consistency, I imagine we should leave this in available.
Sure.
The nitrate reduction in kilograms annually, it's not a huge number, it's 3.3 kilograms per year. And their nitrate level is 5.5 to 6, it looks like. So they do have, they're over that first barrier, if you will. I assessed the ownership by the assessor's list. It is a Fuji Sen 5. It's set on Shelter Island sand and gravel. There is I received the full copy of the blueprint, the survey. Matt Sherman did the work. Everything. So that is completed. They will be treating effluent annually about 19,000 gallons of wastewater per year. The cost per kilogram, again, would be about 13 cents per gallon over 5 years. So again, it's not a huge project, but it is one that is, everything else works quite nicely for it. House construction date is about 1974, and they have a existing vault leach pool, but they are going to put a new leaching pool in. Funding is available for the project. It does not accommodate new growth. The building department advised they do have an open permit. It's about a year out, but it's basically windows and stuff like that. There's no impact on the square footage or anything like that. So that seemed fine to me. Does anybody have any questions on it, on the project?
This is voluntary, correct?
It is voluntary. I didn't say that. Very sorry.
Sorry.
Does It's about, the site is about 1,400 feet to Manantee Creek and 890 to Fresh Pond. So it's in an area that, again, it's not super close, but it is in the neighborhood of Fresh Pond, if you will. It is a second home, it's owner occupied. Right now, they are using they have it's a voluntary, new leaching pool. Let's see what else. Projected cost is $35,000. They have requested county and state rebates. And they have a pH adjustment system and a water softening and sediment filtration system in the property. And they did submit a
Yeah, full water test, I saw that.
water testing. So any questions from anybody on that one?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
I guess, James, I can, as running the show, again, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this, we send this forward to the town board.
Second.
For 16,000 or for 12,000?
You know,
You had said
do you have a preference? Do you, you know, it doesn't look like they're gonna need a new well, but is it better to have it consistent, or is it better if
The only reason to do the 16 is just in case they need one, then you don't have to come back and
Yeah,
do the request again.
the practice has been that we usually do, and then I would say more often than not, we don't use it. you
Yeah,
know, so.
yeah. So it doesn't matter to you?
Yeah, it's protective.
Yeah, so, well, you don't have any preference, we
You
do,
know, I mean, it's good, then we don't have to revisit it again later.
oh, leave it in,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Yes, it would be for the 12,000 and 4,000, total of 16,000, although it certainly would be expecting that the 12,000 would be about it. So I made a motion, it was seconded.
Second it, yes.
If there's any more comments, then we'll take a vote. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, so the Perez project is approved. The next item is Lang on Smith Street, and Julie, you're familiar with that one?
I had handled this one originally, yes.
So this is a situation of where, and James says that what the Suffolk County is asking for makes no sense. They want a waterproof, a retaining wall.
Retaining wall, yeah. So my only thought was that, and I got the email just as you did, the owner didn't reach out to me in particular, she probably forgot that I answered the application, but I guess the only thought I had was that since the Suffolk County Health Department is making them do it, it's not like this applicant, you know, was asking for frills or just went in to do some extra thing there. It's like this was caused by their having to go forward and doing the septic on their own accord. It's not mandated. So they're trying to do this good work here by putting in the septic, and then the health department says, you also, by the way, have to waterproof this, you know, retaining wall. I feel like it's not their fault that they're now in this position. So my first reaction would be they deserve some help to, you know, in this, they've, you know.
But they've already got 12,000.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but as you know, the 12,000 doesn't always, it doesn't.
No, I know,
A lot of
but
these
that's
things,
what it is.
That's the grant, is the grant, right? It's,
The only thing I can think of is that there might be precedent in one case, and before I got here, I was trying to find it. It was the one where, do you remember, you might remember, Greg, where Kraus did some extra work, and it turned out that they had to like reroute some of the piping in the ground having to do with the, does it sound?
propane.
Yeah,
piping.
and there was some extra bill in there, and as far as I remember, I think we covered those extra expenses that were in the bill. I don't know if
Was
those
that above
expenses,
the allocated amount?
that's what I don't remember, I don't remember.
Was it
if
at the
that-
16 back then?
That might have been the old amount, I don't know, but I don't know if that pulled them over the threshold, or was it just that they, you know, they added some more stuff to the bill that wasn't
Later
on
on,
the,
right.
on the initial estimate, but I do remember that we approved it. I don't know, Amber, if you have some way of looking back to,
What's Kraus's?
Well, no, it was Kraus who was the, did the plumbing. So it was, Kraus was the plumber on this particular application, that's all I could remember. I didn't handle the application myself, it might have been.
I don't remember.
I don't recall like us ever increasing above our grant amount, other than when we went from 6,000 to 12,000.
Okay, so it was probably that they just included something that wasn't in the original estimate, and then we went ahead and approved it.
Yeah,
Okay.
really, it falls, there's two buckets here, I think.
Yeah.
That might have been Derby,
Oh, maybe Derby.
because Derby got 2 checks.
That sounds kind of familiar to me.
There was like a certain amount, and then there was like an additional bill,
Okay.
so we got.
But it still didn't bring Derby over,
No.
right? Okay,
No.
okay. All right, I wanted us to check on that, because if it turned out we had done something like that, then we can't really say yes to one person and no to another.
I mean, if this gets submitted, if that cost for this action is submitted in her summary of
Yeah.
expenses, I think that, yes, we would certainly say, yeah, this is statement, this is, the county has mandated it, and so you had to do it, and it's for the system. Yes, it's an appropriate expense. On the second part, the second bucket is do you want to go above what they've been allocated? And that opens up a can of worms that would be kind of a pain in the.
Right.
No,
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I mean, then maybe they could protest to the county, if they do that, then they'll never get their reimbursement for another 6 months.
I mean, we could conceivably say, we don't see right now that we would be able, based on our rules and procedures, to add to the allocated money. However, we'd be happy to perhaps have her get a letter from the DEC, from the Suffolk County,
Suffolk
and
County.
say, okay, what are you really asking for here? Because we have a question in funding. And perhaps we could get Joe Fenora to send,
But we don't have a question in funding.
oh, no, according to James, he said that she is running out of, she's over the expense number right now.
Right.
All right. The point is could we take an action and say, hey, county, is this really, that we're having people look at us and say, what the hell are you doing? What are we expecting? That, and
It could happen
perhaps that
again.
could, maybe whoever has designated that we have to do this.
They didn't use the 4,000 for the well relocation on that one?
It doesn't sound like it.
Is Meg's not on the line, right?
My thought would be is we'll hold on to this but not make a decision, although we could ask her to get and maybe the contractor, and I don't know if.
Well, it's a requirement of the permit though, so how can we deny somebody extra funds if it's a requirement of the permit? It's part of the permitting of that.
Well, regardless of, we have a limit of how much we'll give, regardless.
But I'm saying this may come up again. I mean, we may have it's something to look into, I think, for the future.
I think we've come up a lot of times
You'd have
where people
another-
say, I'm out
yeah.
of pocket for $3,000-4,000,
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
But I'm
And
saying-
that's what this situation is.
But I'm saying this particular thing, like a retaining wall, and then maybe there might be other categories that come up in the building. But this
Yeah.
might be something that we might see more of.
Well, I think that I would approve that when the bills are submitted.
She
here-
should put it
here-
in, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, just for
Yeah.
discussion, maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we want to see if we could just advise her, can she get a letter about why this is needed? Because we do have to
And not
explain to her.
necessarily that we're gonna fund it, but just to put it, for future cases, they may wanna look at, I don't know.
I think that seems like, it may, and maybe somebody will look at it at the county and say, maybe this is crazy. Or maybe James might be able to provide us a little bit of guidance, because,
We did go look at it.
yeah.
Could that be something that we bring to that new board? I know.
To who?
Yeah, but our limit of giving,
Yeah.
reimbursing could be 16,000, but it's 12,000. So regardless of how much they spend, and no matter how legitimate it is, that's all we can give is 12. We've given 12. She's entitled to the 12, she'll get the 12.
Yeah, the point is that it's maybe we are in a position, if we ask the county to say, could you explain this fee?
Well,
Because,
Right. But she could do that. I mean,
Yes.
she does have an engineer who did it, and he could certainly question the legitimacy of the request.
okay,
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
you okay,
Why
yeah,
not?
let's, is that a motion, or we'll just say, yeah,
Do
let's do
what?
that? We're gonna request that she send a letter to the
That's up
county.
to her to do that.
Yeah.
Well, why are we
Well, I don't
requesting
think
that
we
she?
should make a
We're asking
motion.
you to do it.
I don't think we need to make a motion, but since Greg, you handled it, oh no, I handled the application originally, but I think James got the letter, so he
Yeah.
could just advise her, just as
Okay.
we often advise owners of different avenues they can take to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all.
I just don't understand how waterproofing, that's why I wanted to speak to Meg, but why waterproofing a retaining wall has anything to do with the installation of a septic system. Just,
I'm interested to know too.
it just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Unless they feel like there's a flow of water that would impact, that they want the water diverted elsewhere.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
But
so what we're gonna do is advise her that, at this point, that the money that's been allocated for her project is $12,000, which apparently is the number, yes?
Yeah, 12, yeah.
And that, we don't have the latitude to add money to that. However, we request that she, that she request a letter from the county, or, I didn't see a letter in.
No.
all I'm trying to say though is, why are we requesting that she does? It's up to her to do it, to ask for the explanation, because she wants them to negate the,
No, but I think what Greg's trying to say, in our saying no, we're not just gonna say no, and that's it. We're gonna say, listen, here's where we can't, and it might behoove you to go this route. We're just, it's a courtesy, I think, is what we're.
so it's a behooving, not that we're telling her to do
No.
this. If you want, we advise you.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and then it may.
In our denial letter, we say we advise you to request it because it doesn't necessarily make any sense.
Right.
And, we think you should protest it.
Yeah. Also, she hasn't turned in bills yet. I think she was just coming to us to check in early.
Right.
Right? That's the impression I
Oh,
got.
this is a new expense. But my impression was she was already at
Right,
she was
that's,
above the reimbursement.
that's what James said, yes,
Put it together, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So the letter would be the denial letter, which would have sorry, that money isn't allocated, however, contact the county and get an explanation, and then bring it back to us. I'd be happy to get it back to see if James, because again, there's a guy that knows this stuff. He seems to think it's crazy, so. So that's the plan?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, so the next item then
Who's
is,
writing the letter?
well, I don't know if there's gonna be a letter, I think
We have
what
to
we're
wait
saying is,
until we get the actual billing.
I'll draft it with James and circulate it before we send it to her.
does it have to be a letter, or could it just be a call?
It can just be an email.
I guess she contacted James, right?
Right,
Jessica, actually, I think.
oh, she contacted you,
Just
Jessica?
right back to her.
Okay.
I think you just be.
Well, no, my thought would be is that a letter,
Okay,
if she's dealing with the county, it's like, it's one thing when you got a sheet of paper there that says.
right,
we recommend you-
WQI, yeah, okay, all right,
So I'll write it, James, and I will
Okay.
put it together, and we'll copy everybody before it goes out.
okay.
Septic application update on Dalton. What was Dalton again?
Dalton is the
That's
Georgiana's office?
Georgiana Ketchum's.
Jim's
okay.
old real estate turning back into
Right.
a house.
So I don't, what's,
Well, what was supposed to happen, which may have happened, is
Went to town board.
went to the town
discussed it.
board, and I don't know that any sort of,
Yeah, they had a decision.
We had a discussion about it. We weren't comfortable because we just don't know whether or not, because it's going from commercial to residential, is this, I don't want to say increase in density, what's the word, the terminology I'm looking for is,
Will increase flow
promoting
rate.
growth, promoting growth. So, the I'm trying to think of the name of it. My brain is.
the group.
Conic Regional Advisory Committee.
Is in the process of getting formulated and pulled together, so we're working on IMAs for all of the towns to work together. Tui and I were at that meeting 2 Fridays ago, I think it was,
Last Friday.
last Friday. The weeks are long.
My time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, so that will be one of the first, things that we will submit for them to rule on, is if you.
But that's months from now,
Yes, it will be
It's gonna be
from-
months.
Yeah, it is months from now. but-
September, October, if you're lucky.
We suggest to them to, obviously, they're in the progress now, so go to the state, go to the county.
Yeah.
You know, maybe add some ammunition to her future with the group formerly known as 14.
Yes, yes. So we can take that kind of a question to them
Okay,
once we have everything in place.
okay. I think that, any other questions on that topic then? We're good?
That's good.
Thank you. Silver Beach Association grant request. There's nobody.
I just checked with a few members to see if anyone was coming on, but they're not gonna appear tonight, so.
Okay.
And I'm gonna recuse myself because I'm on the Silver Beach Association board. And although I don't live near the pond, but I am on the board, and I just wouldn't want anyone to assume that I'm trying to drive this in any particular way, so I'm gonna leave just for that discussion,
Okay.
so you can come get me.
What I'd suggest that we do.
Well, do we know enough about it to even talk about it?
Well, there was a letter sent to us by,
And the detailed plan,
Yeah.
the proposal to the Peconic.
but what, did they, I'm just confused about the request. Are they asking for the full amount? Are they asking that we help them? Are they, what is the request really?
Good question. What I would think is that we could, maybe even send them, in the meeting minutes.
Well,
We could ask them a series of questions that, that popped off. First of all, your point about budget, is it the whole thing, or are they gonna do some? The approval, the DEC permit that's involved here, is that included in that funding, and which I'm not sure that it was. Do we want to have the CAC take a look about this, that group?
what's the CAC?
Citizens,
Conservation
Yes.
Advisory Committee.
yeah,
Conservation Advisory Council? CAC?
CAC, yeah.
Yes, Conservation Advisory Council.
Quite frankly, for a request for this amount of money and this intensity, I think somebody from the group should come and present the request so that we can ask them these questions in person and have some kind of discussion with them rather than
Okay,
mailing back and forth. I mean,
yeah,
that's what most people do. I mean,
yeah.
the
The-
creek keepers and the back to the bays and Fresh Pond, everybody's come and made a request. It's not like this is,
I think it was preliminary, would you consider it, really was the question. So I guess the answer is yes, we would consider it, but
It certainly
we
seems like,
don't really know exactly what they're asking for. Nor did, I think they're sort of at that stage that they don't know what they're doing, right?
it seems like they
To me,
put quite a bit of work
that-
into it and,
Well, they got turned down on their application, so now the application would be somewhat different, I would assume.
turned down.
Which
I think
application?
From the
that-
Peconic, what PPE or whatever it's
Oh,
called.
okay. Conic Estuary.
yeah.
they said no?
Yes,
That was in the letter?
they turned them down for a grant,
Grant.
for the grant
That
request, so
was,
now,
that was in the thing?
I believe so.
Or did not read
I didn't know that either.
I thought so.
So your point about what we would really like is, you know, give us the full soup to nuts here.
Right, and
what you're
allow us
actually
to ask you questions, and that'll help us, decide.
Okay,
That's the way I
get-
feel.
I mean, yeah, we need them here. Because my understanding is basically they want to connect this little pond to the,
Yeah, it's not very big,
right.
but
Yeah, but it's so complicated for such a tiny project that it gets expensive.
it is, and I'm not fully on board with the way they want to do this. I mean, they just want to open it up by digging or, backhoeing a 2-foot by 3-foot. To me, that's just going to fill in again.
Well, that's true.
I think, you need something like a cement pipe or something that's going to increase the longevity of this thing staying open,
yeah.
If that's the case. And other than that, they'll be coming back to us every 3 or 4 years saying, hey, this needs to be dredged again, can you help us? That's the way I feel about it.
Okay, yes, we want to get information, and that's what we'll communicate to them.
Okay.
Item 7 was discuss potential outreach to commercial properties.
Well, before we outreach, we have to have a vehicle by which we can do it. So we don't, my understanding is we don't currently have within our ambit permission to grant to commercial properties. That's my understanding.
It's,
So can I just ask a question? Is this like pertaining to the properties down on Bridge Street and things
Could be,
like that?
sure. Yeah.
Which,
I mean, I 100% am in favor of supporting commercial properties doing this. The Ram's Head is one. I mean, unfortunately, James has a connection there, but it's certainly a generator of nitrogen, and Cockles Harbor Marina is another one. With the commercial laundry there, which is a big asset to the community. So, and Bridge Street is obviously, doesn't have a lot of
the other one is
wastewater, more.
Island Boatyard too. What's the situation there? Do they have, what kind of septic systems do they have? So,
Yeah,
I mean, we're not talking about small generators here. We're talking about big, big generators of waste. So, to me, I think that's something, if this committee allows us to do this kind of thing, is something that should be considered.
absolutely. Now, when the lady from Suffolk County was here 4 months ago or whenever it was, I did ask the question about was the county supporting, and at that time she said no. But apparently James and Meg were talking, and I guess there's some movement, maybe now with that the legislation has changed with the additional funding there.
Yeah, I don't think that, who was that? There was Jennifer Prelo, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I was speaking to Meg about it, excuse me, briefly this morning amongst other topics. And so I feel like the county and the state aren't doing any grants for commercial. So that's one stumbling block, is that like any funding would come strictly from the town. The other is that it is, unlike residential, it's very specialized property by property.
yes.
So it makes it much more complicated and much more expensive. So if you're going to do that kind of outreach,
But perhaps much more impactful.
yes, but I think we might want to do some research first to better understand before we start reaching out, like, what is it that we'd be asking?
Well, that's what I said, right.
Yeah.
Outreach is the wrong word. We have to build
Yes, do some research.
parameters around what we think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe Joe Venora would be a good resource, and, I don't know who else, but,
Yeah.
or the county. I mean, the county, I'm sure, has experts who do know about what's commercial grade, because it's very different.
Mhm. I mean, we could try and arrange to have someone from the county come in and just discuss this one topic.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, in James' note here, he says that it appears to me that there are some grants available from the county and state as well as from municipalities. That is East Hampton. He's reached out to Meg to pick her brain in any case. If we want to offer some sort of assistance to these properties, do we want to offer assistance to commercial properties?
Then, okay, then there was an update, like right after that email. He wrote, this is Meg's findings regarding commercial
see that.
grants. Okay, and it came in shortly after that one, and she got a letter from Julia Priolo, that's who you
Yes, yeah.
remember,
Yes,
Priolo?
Yes.
Suffolk County, quote, "At this time, Suffolk County SIP, New York State SSRP is only available for single-family or two-family residential properties. There are no grants available for commercial
Right.
properties."
Okay.
And that's as of May 1st.
Yep.
That answers that.
Yeah, well, I guess we've discussed the potential, so,
Well, because they're not doing it doesn't mean that we wouldn't consider doing it.
well, again, that is another question, to take a look at the state enabling legislation that they just changed, and then we could check, okay, I'll call it right, it's the committee of 11 or 12. And see what their thought is.
I just sent that email.
It sounds like James is saying that East Hampton has found it possible to fund septic systems, IA systems, and for commercial properties.
With the town part, yeah, town portion. Okay.
I don't think there's I could be wrong, but I'm not sure that there's an obstacle to us doing it. I don't think anybody's just reimbursing it at this point in time, except maybe East Hampton.
Yeah, us. We don't know.
Right.
So we'll have to leave that on the table to investigate further. And I don't know about bringing in, we should be in a position where James has done some legwork here, obviously in the note. So that, next item is the financial report.
I didn't update the spreadsheet, there wasn't a lot of activity.
Right.
So I just figured,
I feel like we just did it.
yeah, I mean, like the past couple of months, it's been like, no grants paid out, just a little bit of money in.
Okay.
Not a lot of money in.
Old business? Any new business?
Make a motion.
Motion is made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Close the meeting.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good job.